Hello, everybody. Welcome to the relationship party. I have some fabulous guests with me. Y'all know this is at the relationship party. It is what it is.
Not what it's supposed to be.
Absolutely. So, before we get into this topic, so y'all get your friends. If you know somebody who's going through a divorce, been through a divorce, you need to tag them now and make sure you like, sharing, and subscribing. Okay. But before we get into this, we would be remiss if we did not chime in on a Cat Williams really quick. Stephanie, I'm gonna start with you.
Okay,
How did you feel about this whole Cat Williams? They broke the internet.
they did.
They broke the internet with this one. How did you feel about the interview?
Well, I mean, as the interviewer, I forget what his name.
Shannon Sharp.
Yeah, Shannon Sharp. I mean, he just had to kind of let him go because he was going to go
Right,
anyway,
right,
right?
right.
And you just want people to be able to come in and share their truth, and that was his truth, from him. So, and I think that's what we do here. We want to talk, give our truth, and be able to have conversations with people if they want to have conversations. So, I mean, I think it's going to help others be able to come and
And
share
tell
their
their truth.
truth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you, Kanisha? How did you feel about it?
It was very interesting to watch, mostly because a lot of the people that were mentioned in the interview, we all know, love, and respect, right? So a lot of times what we have to come to grasp with is that, everybody experience with someone is their true authentic experience. And it does not necessarily mean that that person is a bad person.
Right.
It might just be they met that person on a journey of a season and maybe they just did not cross path on a great,
Right.
road, if that
Right.
makes sense. So it was very interesting to watch because he exposed a lot of people, dirty laundry, I guess, is for figure of speech. But um I can only say it was a respected interview.
But
What?
you know what? Did he really expose them for who they are now? He exposed, like I said, something that happened years ago to
Right.
Right.
me. Because I still love and respect those
Right.
people. You
Everybody
know what I
else.
To
mean?
me, it wasn't a lot. When he talked about the industry, we know
Mhm.
Mhm.
not details, and we still don't know details. We know the music industry and those industries are not favorable a
Right.
lot.
Yeah,
That people find themselves doing stuff to be in certain positions. Not all.
that's true.
So it wasn't like really tell all. I felt like he was a little angry.
Mm.
Like he said, he wasn't jealous.
Yeah.
I don't think he's jealous, but I think he was a little angry. And when I listened to something that Kevin Hart said, they said the same thing.
Hmm.
So Cat Williams said they just took Kevin Hart and put him in my roles. Those
Hmm.
sat on my table.
Mm.
Cat Williams, I mean Kevin Hart also in another interview said it was you that didn't show up. It
Hmm.
was you that did. Take responsibility for what you didn't do. So
Mm.
to me, those two coincided.
Yeah.
Cat, they may have had Cat slated
Mm.
to do all of this stuff that Kevin Hart was going to do.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Because he didn't want to do these different things, which highly respect. You know what I mean? Don't do what you don't want to do.
Yeah.
They just put Kevin Hart in that role.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he talked about these 10 and 20 films and stuff like that. You're right. When they build stars,
Hmm.
Mhm.
they know they need to build a star so they can build their money. That when you show up and you're on the screen,
Yeah.
you're gonna make us millions and millions of dollars. And of course, we're gonna pay you. So I think it was just a timing thing. Kevin Hart was at the right place at the right time.
Mhm.
That was meant for Cat. Cat didn't take it. But big ups to Kevin Hart for what, even with the opportunity, what he's done.
Yeah.
Hmm.
He's been putting other people on. He
Hmm.
started his own production company, right? So even though they might have called themselves only giving him this,
Yeah.
he's really been taking it far.
Hmm.
And big ups to uh, Kevin Hart for that. And lastly, I want to ask y'all this because the other thing about the black men being in the dress,
Mm.
Yeah.
how do y'all feel about it? Do y'all think that is a thing? Because white men comedians have been in dresses too.
And I was just thinking that. I was really just thinking that. I think a lot of times maybe it's just our community where we feel like we are to answer to what others in our community do. There is no other community that does that, from my experience. Whereas if you see someone that's being black, you're like, oh, well, let me go ahead and just correct this brother or this sister because you making us look bad. And but when you go to other communities, they don't have that. They don't have that. They just be like, oh, that was just a lone gunman and it went out and then went crazy. They don't take account and say, well, I'm sorry because that person went and shot up that school, or I'm sorry because that person did these things. We as a community have to stop trying to take accountability and just really judging each other for the decisions that each other make, because
I feel as a comedian, you can't tell everybody what they do.
right,
So for some, may feel comfortable because they are very masculine. They just see it to be funny.
right,
Because of course, men look ugly
in a
dressed
dress.
up as women.
Exactly.
So if you're a comedian, you may see the humor in that.
Yeah.
Cat was not, and I'm not saying Cat should have done it because some men are so masculine, like you not getting ready to get Denzel in no dress.
Right.
Not gonna happen. But he's also not a comedian and he ain't gonna find it funny.
Right.
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 So you have some people, so it's okay.
Mhm.
But I get what he's saying. Some of them do that for a reason, but that doesn't necessarily have to be your reason. What would you say to the men dressing up as women in the movies?
Well, following where I grew up from is a total strange thing.
Okay. And tell everybody where you're from.
I'm from West Africa, Nigeria, precisely.
Okay.
And when we're talking about Nigeria, it's more than what I can call a country,
Right.
because we have like a lot of ethnic groups, like 550. We all speak different languages. Yeah, think about it. We all speak English.
Right.
We have a broken English. We call it pidgin English. It's regular English, but a word can mean something else. So I can speak pidgin English next to you. You're never gonna have an idea of what I'm saying.
Okay.
Like, for instance, if I say how far that is like a question about distance.
Right.
I'm asking about you. How are you?
Oh, okay.
You're getting my point. So moving back to the subject matter, like saying men dressing women, I didn't see anything like that until I was like 25.
What
I
did you think when you first saw it?
You know, if somebody just dressed like a woman without acting like a woman, probably it's something else.
Right.
Like, you have a meaning to it. And if the person is acting like a woman, then you have questions like, is the person a man or a woman? For instance, when I just got here, the level of it here in the United States is different from how it is in Africa.
Okay.
Because
Right.
I've seen men here and women here that I got confused. I'm in my
Okay.
30s. I've seen people that I don't know if they're man and woman.
Right.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
You getting my
Yeah,
point?
yes. Yes.
I just have to like shut that side of my head like, hey, keep quiet. You getting my point?
Right. You just
You-
look.
But
Right.
back home, I will have a couple of questions and be like, what's it doing that for?
Right.
Is it seeking attention? Is that what it is?
Right.
You know, then there's this gender that I heard about when I was in school, hermaphrodite or something.
Yeah.
So I may think they're hermaphrodite. Maybe they get confused personally. They don't know if they're a man or a woman, but you're getting my point.
Yes.
But
Yes.
I don't,
yes, yes.
I don't want to talk about it that much.
Right,
You getting my point?
But so, and you're right, because that's a difference. Because I'm gonna tell you, I seen a pastor, and then we're gonna get to the show. We're gonna go for a commercial break in a quick second. But a pastor was saying about Tyler Perry and Medea. Now, I just want to say this. To me, there's a difference between dressing up comedic in a comedy way. You're not actually trying to be a woman.
Right.
You're impersonating one too for a funny. But you're so ugly. You're not trying to
Yeah.
trick anybody.
Right.
It's for a laugh versus a man who is really trying to look as if and portray himself as a woman.
Yeah.
That's really different. And I think there's a break in that. But y'all tell us what y'all think. The Cat Williams, Tyler Perry, are y'all mad that they dressing up? Do you just find it as comedy? And tell us what y'all think. But while y'all thinking about it and typing in the chat, we're gonna go for a quick commercial break. When we come back, we're going to be talking about divorce and how to get through it. We'll be right back in just a moment.
These fees are killing me. I really need to find a broker who does not charge fees.
Connections Realty Group.
You know, I just really want a brokerage that has great culture and that knows how to have fun.
Connections
See
Realty
you
Group.
tomorrow. You know, what I'm really looking for is a broker who has a great commission split.
Connections Realty Group.
I just really need a brokerage that offers leads so I can jumpstart my business.
Connections Realty Group. Connections Realty Group. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Relationship Party. I have a fabulous cast with me. Tell everybody who you are.
I'm Kanisha Bullock.
All right. Thank you so much for being here. And you, sir?
Ashkor Obatuyai.
I love it. And tell everybody where you're from.
I'm from Nigeria.
Okay. Okay. And we have the beautiful author herself, Stephanie Rochelle.
Yes.
Tell everybody the name of your book, Rochelle.
The name of my book is called A Cracked Egg, because we're all cracked eggs until we rebuild our life from the inside out.
I love it. I love it. And while we have everybody here, because we want to talk about divorce. It's been at an all-time high for so long, and now we're getting to a point that people are not even getting married as much as some of us would like, right?
Mhm.
So wanted to kind of touch on, I know all three of you have been through a divorce. So I want to start at kind of the beginning of that.
Mhm.
And I'll start with you, Stephanie, first. How did you know, or when did you realize that we're probably heading that direction?
Well, it was point blank plain that I knew that I was going to have to go through a divorce, but I had to get myself ready for a divorce. The reason why I say that I knew I had to get divorced is because basically my husband had moved out and I didn't even know. He made it appear like he was still there. He was
Oh,
working a night job, but he had left. So he had basically walked out. So at that point that I'm there, contemplating what I had found out, what was going on, what was really happening now, and I knew nothing about it. Like I really believed he was working a night job, this, that, and the other.
wow.
Now it's like, how do I do this? Like,
Right.
because what I thought my life was going to be is no longer going to be. Wasn't that I didn't have a good job, wasn't that I couldn't take care of myself. It's just what I envisioned now was going to be different. So I had to just wrap my mind around that first. So I didn't make rash decisions, even though I
Right.
knew like this wasn't gonna work for me. I wasn't gonna try to make somebody be here that didn't want to be here and all those things.
Right.
I was gonna go through a divorce, but I gave myself the time to get myself together so that I wouldn't be mentally back and forth trying to make decisions. I would
Right.
know when I go down and get the divorce attorney that
It would
this
be
is what we
this.
doing.
Well,
Yeah.
let me ask you this, because a lot of people, and I love your story because a lot of people, there were signs, and
Mhm.
not about anything in particular, that things are not working,
Mhm.
right? A lot of times I hear men say, it was just out of nowhere. No, it wasn't.
Mhm.
So sometimes there's some things, not about the particular thing that breaks the camel's back,
Right.
but
Correct.
sometimes people will stay and be unhappy for a certain period of time, knowing that it's not really working.
Mhm.
So did you have that? Was there a period of time that you just knew that it really wasn't working?
Yeah, well, it's that in every marriage if you've
Right.
been married any length of time.
Right.
And so we have literally been together since the 10th grade. So we were high school
Wow.
sweethearts, got
Right.
married and got divorced when we were like year 28.
Okay.
So yeah, so you don't love somebody like you love
Right.
them all the time and all
Right.
of those years. You still care for them, you want the best for them. You know what I mean? You just move through it. Anybody that's been married knows that there's some move through it type
Right.
years.
Absolutely.
So yeah, there were those things. But we had been through
So
so
much.
many life trials, right? And had gotten through that. The little things really didn't seem to matter because we had been through so many major things
Right.
in our marriage.
So it wasn't something you felt that was just different this time. And the
Right.
reason why I'm asking, because some people think they're at that point, and sometimes they're just really not. Sometimes maybe you need to pause for a second. Like you
Right.
said, you've been through so many trials before.
Mhm.
Doesn't necessarily mean that this is the time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Sometimes you have to stick it out a little bit further.
Right.
Okay. So
Well, in this case, there was no sticking it out further. There was me just digesting the person who I thought they were was not that person.
Okay.
Like things that happen. Okay, so of course there was cheating and all those things. I would never think that he would do anything like that, right? I just
Didn't.
just
Right.
didn't. We could have problems, right? I just never thought that that would be our thing.
Okay.
And then I'm a person that is a big thing for me, especially deceit is big for me.
Right.
If I think you're this and you're that, who are you?
Right.
So that was the one thing that I had to in moving forward and rebuilding my life. It's like, okay, now when I'm meeting people, who are you really?
Right.
Because who
And
I
people
thought
change. Yeah.
because who I
Yeah.
thought was this
Yeah.
person ain't this person.
Right.
And he's not a bad person. We friends
Right.
now to
Right.
this day and
Right.
everything. But I'm just like,
Yeah. And
who
I
are
tell
you
people
for
all the
real?
time, you don't know who people are until you're breaking up.
Yeah. And so this is somebody that I knew from
Right.
childhood. So I'm thinking I'm knowing this person. So now when I meet people on the street and I'm out here dating, I'm like, but who are you really?
Right.
Like, what has happened to you? Like, what you been through? What you going through?
Right.
So I'm looking at people differently. And that's
Mm.
why I just, yeah.
Right. Okay. I love it. I love it. What about you? You've been through a divorce.
Yes.
Could you see it coming?
Actually, personally, the way I grew up, I didn't come up from a family that I saw any of my parents breaking up,
Okay.
but they both were married before I was born. So I didn't see that part of their life.
Okay.
And I never thought I would see something like this. As a person, I don't like being away from whoever is going to be my spouse for long. I've been lonely enough in my life. I got married in my 30s. So I don't want to go through like I have a wife with the mindset of being somewhere, then I'm somewhere else for a long time. I
Right.
know who I am. I like my home time. I like it doesn't matter what my wife is doing. I just like knowing, oh, my wife's right there. I want to
Right.
mess with her. You getting my point?
Right. Yes.
So the lady I got married to, she somehow we've been together since like 10 years before we married. But trust me, it doesn't matter how many numbers like the number of years you know yourselves for before you get married. You've not been to marriage together. There
Right.
are things you will never see until you are in the same house. The first couple of weeks in marriage, you're gonna start seeing different
Things.
things. You can probably get tired of the marriage from the first week, set of weeks. You just have to be a man so you can help yourself and your spouse to get through the first stage.
Mhm.
Trust me, in the beginning when you're courting, like she's somewhere living with a parent, you're gonna have the urge of seeing yourselves
Mhm.
often. It's not like that when you get in
Yeah.
marriage. You
Married.
get my
Yeah.
point. So I went to school in Egypt. My college days were in Egypt. She was in Nigeria. We were not married then. I was just able to bear what it takes because I wasn't married. But from the time I got married, I say that I will still be traveling. The situation in Africa is different from the United States, especially Nigeria. The economy is coming down drastically. You getting my point? So
Oh.
for a young man of this age, I need to go where the money is.
Yes.
This is the first set of my life. You getting my point?
Yes.
Mhm.
I'm supposed to provide for my family. I need to stay where I can have a lot of opportunities. So you getting my point?
Yes.
I shouldn't get a job when I'm in my 40s. How many years I'm gonna be working for? You getting my point?
Right.
But she on the other level, the other side, she's attached to her parents too much. She doesn't want to go far away from them. Here's the thing: they've lived their lives, right?
Let's go live out.
You're about to set up your life.
Mhm.
I'm not taking you 100% away from your family. You
Mhm.
can still have time to go to them. But she's a father person, and I cannot deal with that. I
Right.
saw it coming, but I thought I was gonna be able to okay, have a conversation a couple of times with her, and she's gonna understand what we're doing together. You getting my point?
Right.
But every effort I put in place is not giving me the result I want. So when I came here, I was supposed to be able to travel after like a month back home or 2 months, but I wasn't able to. Then the family, based on how things happen in Africa, in the family I came from, the head of the family is gonna write a letter and send it to the head of my family.
Mhm.
Whatever that's gonna happen, like it's gonna be marriage or it's gonna be divorce. So they sent a letter. I got the information. I was like, yeah, I can't travel right now. Then I had a couple of conversations with her. Can you be patient? a little bit more. Give me time. I'm doing this for our future. I am doing this for the unborn kids. I just have to do it. My dad stopped where he could. And that's why I went through what I went through. Again, I don't want my kids to go through the same kind of things I go through to bring them to life. You get my point? This is the only chance we have, right? But I guess she's not seeing it.
Right.
And in my culture, my dad used to tell us, don't be the one to send your wife away. There's gonna be divorce. Try as much as possible not to be the one, the first one to suggest.
Right.
Sometimes it has to be divorced. There's nothing you're gonna do about it. Don't get me wrong, but
That's right.
we are trained to always try everything we could to make it work. I mean, it's not gonna work. It's not gonna work.
Work.
That's nature. You're getting my point.
Right.
So they sent the letter from the family and told my family, okay, she's gonna move on. She couldn't deal with this no more. You're getting my point. So
So let me ask you a quick question. We all on another subject, but hold on.
Mhm.
So when y'all get a divorce, you said they wrote your family. Do y'all not have to do a legal document to, like here, we have to go to an attorney, have to go to
yeah,
court to
I
get.
understand what you're talking about. You know, I'm a Muslim.
Mhm.
Okay.
I'm coming from Africa, coming from Nigeria, then coming from the Yoruba part of Nigeria, then my family. That's a lot of things I have to consider. When we getting married, we didn't go to court.
Okay.
So going to court for separation or for divorce is gonna be like, okay, we don't have no record of you being married.
Right. Right. Okay. So y'all
You
don't
get my
have it
point?
that way.
So
Okay.
it the way it happened, the scholars, the religious scholars in the community, they're gonna see it. The two families gonna see it, the friends, the witnesses, and all that. They're gonna see it. Then they pronounce the marriage. That's how it works. They can give you a document, anything to say this guy and this guy, this lady, this man, they got married on this day. But not every time when you get divorced, they provide you something like that.
Oh, okay. Hey, you learn something new every day. So, 'cause, over here, we had to get all the paperwork, custody of some children, all of that. So, Kanisha, tell everybody a little bit about, did you see, or how far was it before you see that, you know what, divorce is just really knocking at the door?
I think with my situation, it's not that my ex was bad. He just wasn't a good person to me, right? And a lot of things that we went through are like behind closed doors. So when we would go through issues, I'm one of those people who like to self-evaluate. So I had to check myself and say, am I tripping? Like, is it me? So I started going to counseling and I would see different counselors because I wanted to see what different counselors saw in me. And I went to see a black lady, I went to see a white Christian counselor, and I went to see a black gentleman. So I had 3 different counselors that I went to see, and all of them were looking at me and like, "You need to get a divorce." So I was like, "No, no, I love my husband," because at the time we was married for almost 10 years. And I was
Right.
thinking to myself, we done been through so much, I wanted to stay married. So then it got to the point where I'm like, I'm listening to these people who I've hired to give me advice and tell me to stay in this relationship or to hiring to get me to stay into this relationship, and they're telling me to leave. So it got to the point to where we went to counseling together. And when we went to counseling together, they were like, y'all need to get a divorce. And I'm just
Wow.
like, here are strangers who know nothing about me, who know nothing about him, but they sat and heard his side, they heard my side, and they like, y'all need to get a divorce. And I knew I needed to get myself together. And I try to seek counsel from a lot of different people just to see, especially women who went through what I went through. Because when you get a divorce, it's like you're mourning a death.
Mhm.
I like that. Hold, stop right there for a second. Say that again.
It's like something has died, like someone has died. And it's a lot of people don't get that. Like you really have to go through that mourning period, that mourning phase of, oh my God, like the 7 stages of grief, like anger, frustration, hatred, whatever, like crying and just like, the drama. Like you really go through the same stages of grief of a death like you would through a divorce. And what I found myself doing was I was going through my divorce even though I was still married because I knew the answer. I had several people who told me the answer,
Mhm.
but I wasn't ready to accept that answer because I felt like eventually, this person will come around and they would see the error of their ways, especially if you have men who are of the same age group as him, who are of the same established lifestyle as him, who's talking to him and telling him, these are things that you need to fix within yourself so that you're not hurting your relationship, your, marriage or whatever. And they wasn't changing, like nothing was changing. So I knew 3 years prior that I needed to get a divorce, but I knew that I was nowhere in a space to financially be able to afford a divorce as well as take care of my
Well,
family.
let me just say this. It is very crucial that you say that because some people will say, "Why did you stay?"
Mhm.
Mm,
It's not so easy to leave all the time,
Mhm.
it's not.
depending on your family dynamic.
No,
Yeah.
it's very hard to
Right?
leave.
Yeah. And
Very hard.
especially if you
Easier
have
to say.
children
Yes.
or you're not in a financial situation. And I got to tell you, that is the worst place to be in to want to leave and can't.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes.
That is horrible.
Because it's like you're suffering, like it's like you're being smothered, and it's like you're going through hell,
Mhm.
for lack of a better term, hell. But when I was growing up, I grew up in a big family, and my dad used to tell my brothers, he was like, "There's only two reasons why a woman would get married: it's financial support or family dynamic. And as a man, it's up for you to decide which one of those areas your wife fall in." I was always that wife that wanted to get married for family dynamic. I didn't need a man to like financially take care of me because I knew how to work, da, da, da. But I wanted to be married because of what marriage meant. So for me, staying in my marriage was like me fighting for my marriage. I didn't want to get a divorce. I never in a million years would have thought I'm going to marry this person who at the time I believed was the love of my life, who I wanted to have babies with, who wanted to build, a lifestyle with. And then now here we are, and all of that is being ripped apart because
Right.
it's like you're fighting, but it takes two people to fight.
Mhm.
Just like it
And
takes two
sometimes
people
you
to
don't
get
even know
married.
how to fight. I'm telling you, when you start not liking each other,
Oh,
you be like, "Oh, listen, I done tried this, I done tried, nothing's working." It
right.
is really difficult. So that is a hard part. And so for the people who may be thinking about getting a divorce, I love what y'all said about first get counseling first.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I'm going to tell you, I'm a big proponent, unless there's some big thing that's going on. I'm a big proponent of just getting separating first.
Mhm.
'Cause sometimes you don't know how much you love a person because as humans, we will take each other for granted,
Mhm.
Hmm.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
So sometimes just the separation, like you said, you didn't make a rash decision.
Mhm.
Sometimes just try the separation before you do that. Cause sometimes women, we so in our
But
feelings.
in my case, that
Right.
wasn't a separation. That was really I had a lot of like, how did I miss this? How did I miss that he was already detached? How did I, you know what I mean?
Right.
That's what I had to like just take a minute and
Visit.
digest everything that had happened and what I was going through. Because yeah, immediately you're mad. It's like, oh, get this, I'm out of here.
Right.
But like,
Hmm.
no, 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 just wait. Like I knew that that was still gonna be it for me,
Right.
but I just wanted to really connect with God, see what my next move was, what was next, get my plan in order. Like I said, it wasn't a question of me being able to financially take care of myself. I
Right.
had a job, I could do that part, but I never thought about doing it by myself. You know what I mean?
Right.
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 We had did everything together, everything was
Hmm.
together, so how do we separate this? I mean, it was just like a whole I'm analytical.
Right.
Yeah.
So, my initial job, computer programmer, I'm thinking things through, you know what I mean? That's just how I
Process. Yeah.
that's how I process. Yeah. So,
So people just and I love this because sometimes I think when we hear because we hear it so often, such and such and them getting a divorce, we don't really give allowances and enough empathy
Mm.
for what comes with going through a divorce.
mhm,
Especially like the celebrities, everybody like, I knew they would stop for a second.
mhm,
You're still talking about two people
yeah.
who now have to figure something out. And they didn't come in to get a divorce,
Mm-mm.
at least most of them. And so there's some dynamic. Then we have children involved
Yeah.
for some people.
Yeah.
So now we have to think about co-parenting. Let me ask
Mhm.
you this, Steph. when you first divorced,
Mhm.
were y'all able to co-parent together?
Not well.
Okay.
Not well. And mind you, like I said, he had already moved on. So
Right.
then so we had a daughter. So she would go, every other weekend, be with her dad, be with me, be with her dad, be with me. So I don't know this person, never met this person, never knew anything about this person, and my child has to go over there, but he knew me. So he knew that nothing better not go down with my
Right.
child over there. Like he knew me, like because I was very protective of my family. But so that was a whole thing. So as far as co-parenting, in order for me to co-parent with someone that totally hurt me is not the word. Like I said, that
Deceived. Yeah.
deceived me. Um, I had to figure a way to steal because every time he came around, I did not want to be fussing back and forth. You know what I mean? My name was getting ready to go back to Trimble. You know what I'm saying? My maiden name.
Right.
That's just where my mental headspace was. So there's no need for us to be arguing
Mm,
because this is over.
mm.
Like you only argue when you trying to get your
Right.
point across. Ain't no points to get across. None of that. How am I gonna come? How am I gonna be the bigger person when he comes to pick her up and not be going in all the time? Because that's what they expect. Like people
Right.
expect you to be this certain person that they thought you were the whole
Well,
time.
let me ask you this. So how did you get through that journey? Because you said because a lot of times we hear the baby mama, baby daddy drama. So listening, because I haven't been divorced.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm listening to what you say, and now it's giving me a different mindset for some women who really, well, I'll say male as well,
Mm-hmm.
are having a problem co-parenting when there's another person. Because we were like, don't do that, don't do that. But I never
And let
thought
me say
about them
this
being
now.
on the other side of
Mhm.
what this person is processing.
And let me say this now. This is somebody y'all been together a long time.
Mhm.
Y'all are in the house that y'all built together and this, that, and the other. So when that person comes over, they still think, even though that they got this life over here, that they gonna have dominion over here too. No, ma'am. You see
No,
what I'm
ma'am, and
saying?
no, sir.
No,
Absolutely.
ma'am. So you see what I'm saying? So I had to, even though, like everybody knows how to push each other's buttons when you've been with somebody so long. So even though the buttons was being pushed, I had a good friend say to me, I'm like, I don't know how I'm gonna be able to do this. And she said, well, just because somebody is saying something don't mean you have to respond. So the first thing that I learned was to be quiet because he was expecting a response.
Right.
Mm.
So the
Right.
first thing I shut down was the response.
So how did you do with co-parenting?
It's still a process. It's still a process, I would say, because a lot of times people say women get bitter, men get bitter too.
Yes, absolutely.
And a lot of times when you're dealing with someone, like you said, who you shared so much with,
Mhm.
and now they're dealing like from he's laughing because he sees it. Okay, so it's hard to come to terms with the fact that someone that you spent so much time with, who watched you give birth to their children,
Mhm.
who've watched you raise the children, who's been there day in and day out, can walk away and never look back and not even care
Mhm.
to see if the children are okay.
Yeah, so those are people who get yeah, that would be
So I
ooh.
think for me, it's hard for me, but I can only imagine how it feels for my children,
Mhm.
right?
Absolutely.
Because my children are young.
Mm.
And when I say young, I mean 3,
Mm.
6, 8, so they're looking for dad to show up.
Yeah.
And dad is like, well, I can't do this because, but he's been there for so long of their life. So they don't understand why he's not coming. So, and I pray for him. I pray that one day he does come to terms and say, okay, my children are an extension of me,
Mhm.
not an
Right.
extension of her.
Mhm.
And he realizes that, at any point in time, if my daughters, because we have daughters, if my daughters are having issues, I want them to feel like daddy gonna come and daddy gonna take care of that.
Mhm.
Not necessarily like, okay, well, your mama got to deal with it, let your mama do it. So we're still a work in progress. And a lot of times there's the financial piece where it's like, okay, you're supposed to send a certain amount of money every month and you don't send anything, it becomes a level of, okay, I got to deal with it. So a lot of things women have to consider is when you're getting ready to go through that divorce stage, you have to be able to accept the fact that if this person, the other parent, never shows up, you have to do what you got to do.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Because when he don't show up or when she don't show up, it is what it is. Your kids got to keep going because your kids don't understand daddy didn't send money or mama didn't send money this month, so the lights are cut off or I can't afford to live here anymore. You got to get up every day and you got to get it. So that was one of the things that I didn't see coming and I didn't prepare for myself because I never would expected
Him to do
that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But as far as
what before you go further,
I want to speak on that too.
yeah. For the women who are going through, you being with someone, and now just because y'all not together, the dad decides that he doesn't want to participate. Girl, it's gonna be all right.
it will.
You do the best that you can. You find other ways to bring more love into their life. For the man who does that, please get the beat button ready. You don't do that. You are not hurting the person that you were in a relationship with. You are hurting your children. Like you said, they're still waiting for you to come.
They are.
You are the Superman to your children, your seed. And for you to be able to walk away, I'm getting emotional because I don't think people understand what that feels like for children. Because the mama is now when she cussing you out, she's not even cussing you out.
She frustrated.
She wants you. She has to stay in the house and watch the look in her kids' eyes
and cry.
And cry because they don't understand what's going on. So if you're doing that, I'm trying to figure out if I'm gonna pray for you or if I want to put my foot. Because you can get both.
Because the thing is that a lot of people say, well, I have to work. That job is gonna replace you the day your head hits that ground.
So what?
Exactly. And for you, whatever excuse there is, a lot of times what I've learned, and it's something my daughter told me. She said a lot of times men will treat the children based off of how much they care for the mother.
Absolutely. Been there, done that.
And what I have to deal with, and I'm only speaking for myself, is I have to deal with, Mama, can you call my dad? Mama, can you just tell him that we want him to see him? Mama, can he come and get us? And then they'll reach out and he doesn't respond to them.
You mother, listen.
So for a 6-year-old or an 8-year-old, my 3-year-old, like she don't care. But for a 6-year-old and an 8-year-old who's used to like running up and daddy's home and like da 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 da, my job is not to make you look bad to your children.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, how you was to me is how you was to me. You was not there with my mom and daddy. You wasn't like that with my friends. You wasn't like that with my brothers and sisters. Even though they might hear it on the back end how you was with me, but that's not how you was with them. So it's not my job to taint your image to everybody I know. Like tell everybody, oh, you was no good. Da, da, da. That's not my job. But it is my job to make sure that my children keep a healthy relationship with you. Because in the event you do decide to come around, I don't want it to be, well, my mama said this about you.
Right.
I want it to be, well, daddy, why you do this to me? Daddy, why you say this to me? So I always kept it an open dialogue. And every time they come to me, I would say, let's just talk to him and let's just see where he's going to be. But it's a level of hurt.
Absolutely. Because we have to pick up the pieces. The person who's there has to pick up now the weight of what you're not willing to do. We have to look at the hurt in the eye. I bust out some windows on some baby daddies, girl. Tell my kids you get ready to come pick them up and don't show up. Windows is gone. I was in my 20s.
And
Windows gone.
And what I realized
don't do that. Wait, sorry. PSA, don't do what I did. I was just saying. Okay, I just
don't jazz me out there talking about. Oh, yeah, sorry. But what it's kind of like you work in a job and your boss give you an assignment to do, and then you're the only one that's doing the work, and then someone comes up like at the end, and then they get they get the same check that you get.
Right.
You know, that's how I feel when I'm co-parenting with someone who's not even co-parenting with me.
Right. And they show up at the graduation time. I
Oh,
saw
oh, like, oh, I'm so proud of you, your mama. And then they want to hurt, and then they want to poison the child against the one parent
Mhm.
that is the constant parent, you know?
Right.
Because of course I'm the bad guy, because no, you can't have candy after 8 o'clock. No,
Mm.
you gotta get your bath and you gotta do your homework and you gotta go to bed.
Right.
You know, of course I'm the bad parent. You the fun parent. You get to show up and take them to McDonald's
Right.
and the bouncy
Right,
houses.
and don't
stuff.
even worry about that.
And don't
because the kids will get that as they get
And
older.
they do.
They will get
And
that.
they do it because they're not gonna their level of understanding is only as much as an 8-year-old could
Right.
understand.
Yeah.
They haven't experienced life to the level that we've experienced, where we
Right.
know you ain't doing nothing.
Right.
You know, like, but when they get there, they will get there. And that's when my reward comes.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's our job. My mother used to always say, when I would get pregnant, she said, at the end of the day, I want you to know that they belong to you.
Mm.
They walk away. So when in this decision you're about to make, ma'am, just know at the end of the day, they belong to you. And it's very unfortunate. I want to go to Stephanie real quick because I know you had something to say, but I wanted to get your take on, and I know you don't speak for everybody, but what your culture looks like when it comes to fatherhood versus. But Steph, go first, please.
I just wanted to speak on that too. Like, I knew you have to know who you are married to.
Yeah.
I knew the person that I was divorcing, I would have to put him on child support. Like, he would not, if I gave him to do whatever he wanted to do, he would do whatever he wanted to do. And the one thing, you can leave me, you can do all of that, but one thing that we gonna do together is take care of this child. Even if I got to do it first, and then I get my receipt on the back end.
Right.
We gonna do this together.
Right.
And he knew, and period. So I want people to understand who they are married. Now, there are some guys, hey, you don't have to do that. I'm gonna do this, and you know that
Yeah,
person,
right.
and you know they're gonna do it. Then you don't have to. But I just want people to know who they are
Dealing with.
And
dealing with.
sometimes I just don't think you know.
You don't.
Because again, people are always going to put, when they're in a great space, you're going to get the great version of the person.
Right.
Me and a guy lived together. He was great, all this kind of stuff.
Mhm.
We start arguing over the vacuum cleaner. He didn't even have carpet. It was just something to argue about. You just mad. So I tell people, you really don't know who you're dating or who you're married to until y'all start breaking up. People be like, oh my gosh, like you said, I cannot believe that this person, I would never bank for them to do that.
Right.
Right.
But okay, let's go there. So my attorney told me that. So like I told you, I laid there, I had to think it through, pray, see how I was gonna move and respond. So I went and talked to the attorney, and she was like, when you divorce somebody, because I was filing, when you divorce somebody, they become a different person. I said, oh no, he's moved on. He has a life over
That don't
here.
matter.
Oh,
She said, ma'am, when you divorce somebody, they turn into something else.
Yep.
Now, I wasn't ready for that
Right.
because I'm like, Joker, you didn't
did what
spread your clothes out. You didn't like took half of them over here. Like, surely
You were going to leave me alone.
that's where you want to be. Like, let me give you what you want.
Nope.
This thing was dragged out a whole year. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it. Every 3 months, he needed something else. We go back again. He needed I'm just like, what is the sign?
papers.
Some people
Sign.
just want to be annoying. Some people half
Yeah.
want to be one place, half want to be another place. But some people really just want to hold up your progress.
That's what it was.
They don't want you to go and be whole. And it is so selfish. And I always say, before I sit and fight with you about anything, you can have everything.
Yeah.
I built it once, I built it twice, or you'll be buried in the backyard. Doesn't matter which one. Depends on what my age is, how much time I got, which one you want.
Yeah.
Because people will do that. They just do it just to still have a piece of you sometimes. You don't want to be here, but you still want that piece.
Well, here's the thing. Just like people do things that you don't expect them to do,
Mhm.
I did what he never expected me to do.
Right.
That was it.
Divorce. Right.
Divorce.
That was the thing.
Mhm.
I'm just like, oh no, I'm out.
Right. Right.
I don't know how this gonna look, but like you said, I was willing to work. Actually, that's when I actually picked my real estate license back up
Right.
and said, I'm gonna need this income too. I said, let's go.
Right.
That's just what it was. Because my daughter was not gonna miss a beat.
No.
Now,
Period.
let me ask you this. So I know you don't speak for everybody.
Yeah.
Right? Don't. So we're just talking culturally. 'Cause y'all know how you get. I know some people who, all right, being from Nigeria,
Yeah.
what is the culture like for fatherhood? Do men there leave their children like, seemingly a lot of men do here and not have relationships?
Well, let me make one thing clear. The world we have right now, it doesn't matter if you're in Nigeria or you're in America or anywhere, we live in the same world.
Right.
You're gonna find a species of the same man you find here anywhere
Okay.
else in the world. The only difference I can say is how men were raised when they were boys.
Mhm.
A lot of things that make me a different person wasn't even only what they taught me, but what I saw my dad doing when I was a kid.
Right. Okay. Yep.
That helped me a lot to become the kind of man I am. I'm really grateful for that. There are many men in Africa, they have a couple of kids together with a spouse, with their wives, and at some point they just disappear. Just like she was saying, we
Right.
have people like that.
Okay.
Now I'm not talking about culture. I'm not talking about religion. I'm
Right.
just talking about men randomly.
Right. Right.
Mhm.
The
Absolutely.
kind of mindset we have, it depends on, are you just a masculine or you are a man?
Mm. Mm.
There are people, it doesn't matter what your age is, they're still boys.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And there, you can still find boys that are men in the making. My dad gave birth to me when he was 70, like 72 or 73 or thereabout. He was raising me. Think about the kind of mindset he had back then. That helped me to quickly become a man. Does that make any sense?
Absolutely.
Right now, I have a kid with the lady I got married to.
Mhm.
I couldn't when she was saying all she been saying. I don't know how a man is gonna live a day without the kid you had somewhere with a woman.
Mhm.
The lady you do not trust to live the rest of your life with, but you want to entrust your kid to grow up in her care. How is that possible?
Mm.
When my dad divorced some of his wives, a lot of things happened when he was young, actually. He didn't leave them with the kids, he had the kids. And there wasn't any restriction for any lady to come see her child.
Wow.
When my mama came in, my dad he had like 4 kids already from 3 different women. Some they were still young kids. My mama raised us all. And my mama also had like 2 kids somewhere else before she married my dad. So she brought those 2 kids into the family. My dad raised them all. He sent them to school. He
Mhm.
raised them all. One of them had to change her surname and she bear my dad's name. She said, "This is what I want." For the kind of man he is, he didn't know who my dad was.
Right.
He's not asking questions about him. He just picked us off from the middle. You getting my point?
Right.
Mhm.
And he took over. You getting my point? I cannot wrap my head around having a kid with a woman. Like the lady, as I was saying, I pay everything. I pay for feeding, the house rent, they together living with my kid. I pay the house rent.
Mm.
I send money every time, every month. This is how I was raised. This is how, you know, I don't know how else I can do it. How do you want me to live happily with the new woman I have in my life? Now she got kids. I have to play the father figure somehow. It's not a matter of if I want. This is something I knew before I got into marriage. If I'm not ready for this, I
Mhm.
got the exit. You getting my point?
Yes.
Okay. I saw my dad raising other people's kids. Sometimes it doesn't matter. Kids, they're innocent
Right.
Mhm.
of the thing you're putting them through.
Right.
Mhm.
Like the 3 years kid, got confused if I'm the dad or I'm just a man, a random man in the house. I'm not expecting anybody's kid to call me dad.
Right.
That's not what I'm here for.
Right.
But I'm gonna play my part in
Mhm.
their lives because they're just innocent.
Right.
Absolutely.
They're innocent of what they're going through. And if the divorced husband and wife do not play their roles well, they're gonna mess with the future of this kid.
Right. Absolutely.
You getting my point? So I try as much as I can to do what I'm supposed to do. Now back to the culture. I do not think there's any culture in the whole wide world that's
That
gonna
have it.
support any man or any woman that is divorced not to play his or her role
Mhm.
in
Right.
the kid's life. Like being a Muslim, Islam says if you want a divorce, after you divorce, the wife is gonna live in your house for a couple of months, like I think 3 months. I don't want to be specific because I
Right.
forgot she has to be in your care, maybe 3 months or 30 days or something. You take good care of the lady.
Mm.
While even though you both agree,
Right. To move on. Right.
you're not gonna touch her.
Right.
She's gonna remain in your care. You do the same thing, excluding sleeping with her. For the number of time she's gonna stay there for. In case she probably having a pregnancy for you that you both do not know. So this period is gonna be obvious.
Mm.
That is one. Secondly, probably somehow you're gonna reconcile. Maybe
Right.
you were on top of your mind when you
Right.
divorce you.
Right.
know, because trust me, maybe because of the kind of heart I have, it's so lonesome when you divorce. It
Mhm.
doesn't matter if you really love the person or not. Somebody that used to be in your life is no more there.
Right.
That space, who's gonna fill the space?
Right.
You know,
Like you said, it's a grief. That
Mhm.
grief.
It's a
Yeah.
death, yeah.
Loss.
Yeah.
Some part of your head is gonna be telling you something is missing. You
Yeah.
may not be able to figure it. And if you're blessed, you know what's happening. Actually, you're getting my point. So it's lonesome, right? I don't. So after you take care of the lady and she moved, Islam says you're not gonna be able to marry the same lady again until she tries another marriage. Probably the marriage doesn't work. That's the only time you can even reconcile.
Oh.
You getting my point?
Mhm.
Now, the kind of world we have now, some people divorce not because they are a bad person. Maybe the husband is bad. Maybe
Right.
two good people can marry. If they're not meant to be, they're gonna divorce. That doesn't make
Right.
any of
Right.
them a bad person.
Right.
And trust me, there's still gonna be a lot of divorce taking place.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
still gonna happen because we young men, young women that we're out there, a lot of people do not know what they want. They do not know what they need. We talked about it earlier.
Yes.
You
Yes.
remember?
Absolutely.
Mhm.
A lot of people just got into marriage like they don't know how they got there. They just
Right.
got
Let's
into
try it.
marriage.
Let's try
Yeah.
it.
Or you like each other, love each other, or some people doing it just because they think that's what they're supposed to do. And like you said, we really don't know how to be married because you can read some books, you can do all kinds of stuff, but you don't know how to do what you've never done before. I don't care what you're doing. Dribbling a basketball,
Yeah.
playing football. You can't be great at something you've never done before. And you could have watched every game on every Sunday.
Mhm.
Doesn't mean when you get on a full field,
For
you
me,
know how to do
though,
it.
I was modeling my grandparents
Mm.
because my mom was divorced. So I hadn't really seen that was the married couple I could see. And my grandma would always tell me, don't start anything you don't want to continue to do. However, I didn't get it
Right.
until
You
years.
live it.
Right.
Yeah.
Because you, like you said, you don't know until you start doing this thing.
Right.
So I tell people that I coach, who did you model?
Right.
What relationships did you see? Who are you pulling from? Because just because it's what you saw, is how I watched as I was growing up, doesn't mean it was good.
Yeah.
Right.
Ooh.
It was good.
Oh, that part. But hold that thought.
Okay.
We're gonna go for a quick commercial break. 'Cause that's a good one.
Yeah.
Sometimes what you thought you seen, you
Yeah.
ain't see behind them closed doors, them extra cousins and stuff like that. So
Mhm.
people go through some things if you're gonna be married and divorced. Let's go for a quick commercial break, and we'll be right back in just a moment.
If you're looking for a realtor who's patient, caring, knowledgeable, who's an expert negotiator, and doesn't quit until the job is done, then you're looking for my favorite realtor, Stephanie Thomas, whose motto is, it's not about being ready, it's about getting ready.
And we are back. Thank y'all so much. Again, like, share, subscribe. This is the Relationship Party, and I have a wonderful panel here. Make sure you pick up the book.
A Cracked Egg. It is on Amazon, or you can also hit me on IG, Stephanie Rochelle Consulting. I'm a life coach and a realtor, so you can catch me on that page and just say I want more information on the book, and I'll get it to you.
Absolutely. I love it. And I want to thank y'all so much for being here. For those of you who are just tuning in, we're just talking about divorce, getting through that. A couple key things. I love when you were saying it's not like it's grieving a loss.
It is.
The thing of, this person who is no longer there and getting through that. And we talked about co-parenting, the shift of that. And it's great when it's great, but you have so much residue between you two. Sometimes some people just leave.
Mhm.
And I have been through this, and I want to go back to that. So, ladies, and I know sometimes you just don't know until it's happening. Be very careful, because there are some men, as long as y'all good, they good with the kids.
Mhm.
When y'all good, not good, they not. I've been there. I used to have to bribe him to come take my kids to get ice cream,
Mm.
only because I wanted my kids to not feel that.
Mhm.
Mhm.
But boy, on that phone, girl, he was getting it. Do you hear me? He was getting all these lips
Mhm.
and everything that I had to say. But I still tried to do what I could, because I did not want my kids to go to school feeling like they didn't have a dad. Even
Yeah.
though as an adult, I knew, but I know they didn't need much. And boy, they come back with that ice cream girl that I paid for. This is happy and skip, and I'd be looking at him like, you mother. Right.
Mhm.
But it's not about him.
Mhm.
It was about my children
Mhm.
getting a chance to get old enough that they could see it for themselves without
Absolutely.
all of that residue and damage of him not being there at all. So, ladies, if you find yourself, or men, because men are raising children now, right? I probably have always, but um, make sure that you do that just for the betterment. Don't dislike the person so much
Mhm.
that you don't keep your children's best interest at heart.
Absolutely.
But Steph, when we came back, when we went for commercial break,
Mhm.
finish up what you were saying about that.
Modeling.
Recognize what relationships you are modeling.
Mhm.
So when I was getting married, you know what I mean? The only relationship truly that I had saw as husband and wife was my grandparents. And I just thought they were the best. But of course, grandparents to grandchildren are the best.
But
So even though my grandma was trying to give me some secrets, what not to do, this, that, and that, I wasn't picking it up, because in my mind, this is
everything,
it.
right?
This is everything. But I learned as I went. But so when I coach women, I say all the time, what did you see growing up? What type of relationships did you see growing up? Because it doesn't mean that it was the best. You know what I mean? It doesn't mean that it was good. It doesn't mean that that type of relationship will work for you. And I teach my daughter that now, like the mistakes I made, being superwoman, doing everything,
Right.
not even really allowing my husband to do anything. I did the book report. Not, I didn't do it, but I was the one that had to oversee it. You know what I mean? He come in, oh man, y'all did good. You know what I mean? Like, give him the book report to do, and
Right.
then I could go be doing something else. But no, I had to be over everything because I wanted my family to be good, because that's what I saw my grandmother do. My grandmother took care of the kids. She took care of us, the grandkids. We were there every summer. That's what I saw. My grandfather went to work. He didn't do none of that stuff with us. You know what I mean? Grandma made sure we were good, made sure we ate, made sure we had what we need, all of that. So that's what I took on when I became a wife. I made sure everybody was good. I made sure they ate. I made sure Autumn had what she needed. Everybody had what they
Right.
needed.
And we were just talking about that. The dynamics have changed.
Mhm.
You know, the traditional things that we seen, but grandma used to be able to stay at home
Right, and she did.
to be able to do all of those
She did.
things. And now we find ourselves, and it's very unfortunate.
Mhm.
And I think we are all shifting to find the place, right?
The happy medium.
The happy medium
Mhm.
to get our marriages back. Because now the woman working 8, 10 hours just like the man.
Mhm.
So, but the kids still need to be covered,
Yeah.
right? And so, how do we shift it as a man and a woman,
Conversation.
right? To I'm going to take this, you're going to take that.
Mhm.
And like you said, women, we really have to, and I don't mean wait till you made and start saying you need to do him do. No, some of this needs to be some conversation, so it's not left up to feeling some type of way.
Mhm.
If there's something that you need, I think we need to start talking about it.
Mhm.
And treating it like a business almost, like sit down and talk about it.
It is because a lot of times, women, we're more analytical, or men, they visual,
Mhm.
right? So I remember growing up, my mom and my dad used to plan things, and my mom used to be like, "I tell you what, write it down." So she would have my dad to write stuff down,
Mhm.
and once he wrote it down, he was like, "Oh, okay, okay,
Right.
okay, it might not work like I think it's going to work." You know what I mean? Because where we get hung up at is he's not understanding me. He's
Mhm.
not listening to me. He's not comprehending what I'm trying to say to him.
Mhm.
But I remember I got remarried, and
Congratulations, by
yes,
the way.
yeah, this is my
Yeah.
husband. One of the things you said to me when we first got married was you grew up in a household with your brothers and sisters. How did that conversation go? And there were
We have a lot.
there was problems. You're gonna have problems with your brothers and sisters.
Oh, yeah, I know what you're talking about. You know, you have siblings and you have issues occasionally.
Right.
Mhm.
If the same set of people you came out from the same womb, the same father and mother, you all live together, you have issues. How dare you think you're gonna have a woman that was raised somewhere else from a different family that speak a different language or from a different culture? You expect the same lady to be perfect like your skin without having occasional drama. You getting my point? It's
Yes.
not gonna work.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I think a lot of times we have to let go of what I think he should know or I think she should know, right? Because if you're going into it saying, "Well, they should know this already," you
Or
just
the way
saying,
it should be done.
or the way it should be done, you know, because even to be marriage is like a business,
Mhm.
especially in the States, if you're going through the legal system, because it's a contract.
Mhm.
When you get a divorce, they say like it never happened. Like that's my favorite phrase in my
Yes.
divorce decree, like it never happened. But when you're going through a marriage and you're dealing with problems, sometimes you have to take your feelings out of it.
Mhm.
And
Absolutely.
it's a transaction.
Yeah.
Like if you know that you're a woman and you're working and your husband is working, y'all have to come together and say, this is the things that have to be done in this house. What can you take and this is what I'll take what's left.
Absolutely.
If you want to make him feel like, you know, he's choosing and he doesn't want to feel like you're trying to tell him what to do. Okay, well, these are the things that have to take place. What is it that you're willing to do?
Right. Expectations. So you don't have to worry about just expecting it. We talked about it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell y'all, okay, so this is a good one because I was saying today, I said, you know, my husband be trying to wait for breakfast. I don't know why. We still on that, y'all. And this morning I said, I did not want to make it. I said, but wait a minute, is he going to cook dinner? So again, sometimes if you say, okay, babe, I'm going to cook dinner, you cook breakfast on Sundays, I'm going to cook dinner, then it's more like a fair. So now I'm not so about cooking the breakfast.
Right.
If it's something we agree on. If I'm begrudgingly, because I be begrudgingly making it, right? But then because I'm analytical, I said, well, you know, don't do that, girl. All you gotta do is make these 2 little pancakes. You gonna make dinner?
Right.
I can give myself the check.
Right.
So you're right. We definitely do have to
Different.
what the cooking? Yeah.
The thing is, I've seen my dad, mostly most cultures in Africa, especially West Africa, men are always the major spender in the family. We provide everything.
Mhm.
We just have the women we believe the woman is supposed to be in the house to man the house, to take care of
Right.
the home. The kids that were raised that become something good in their future, give the credit to their mama
Right.
and the dad. You
Mhm.
get my point?
Right.
Kids be mostly with their mom than the dad. We're
Mhm.
always out there,
Making yeah.
working.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, don't get me wrong. If I keep
Working.
saying my religion,
No, that's
the Prophet Muhammad, I don't know if you heard about the
yes.
name before.
Mhm.
He was asked a time, he was asked about who to love most apart from your God. He said, your mom. Everybody looked at him like, mama, who is in the house without paying nothing? Of course, yeah, that's as a man, that's how you would think first.
Right.
We
Mhm.
go out, we make the money, we
Right.
feed this lady,
Right.
we clothe her, we give her shelter, we do everything. So the man asked, okay, after your mama, he said, your mama. Then he said, then your mama. Okay, so now what? Then your dad. You see, every woman that go through the delivery, like what do you call it?
Childbirth.
Childbirth. You all been dead before. You may not know. Because
Oh,
that point in
we know.
time, that point in time, you were at the border of like crossing, leaving this world to another
Right.
world.
Mm.
Then you came back, and after a couple of weeks, you still want to do it again. You getting my point?
Yes.
When you got over that pain,
Yes.
Yes.
your husband's gonna come around and you're, hey baby, you look gorgeous. Then you fall for it. You want to go through the same journey. That is one. Even thinking about pregnancy, it feels different. Like the way you look, beautiful, gorgeous. Okay, let me use my wife. I'm sorry.
Yes.
Gorgeous, the way she looks. The moment she becomes pregnant, a lot of things is gonna start changing about her.
Mhm.
It doesn't. She may feel like, okay, I want to go out today with this dress, but because of pregnancy, she has to consider something else so she can be comfortable. And body wise, a lot of things may probably change in her body system just because a baby's coming.
Right.
Father is somewhere right there. He's gonna work, come back home, and wants to touch you over the night. You getting my point?
Yes.
Those things, Islam doesn't look at it with levity eyes. Like Islam really take
Okay.
very solid consideration. If I use the right word, you're getting my point.
Yes.
So the role of a woman is not something we can just. Don't get me wrong. There are some ladies out there. They are not women.
Right.
They may have kids. They are not what you think they are. You get
Right.
just the
Mhm.
same way we have men,
Right.
right?
Right.
So thinking about culture, every culture will be different in handling things. Like my home, I never saw my dad cook, but he did a lot of things for my mama. Even when we lost my dad, my mama doesn't want to remarry. When we ask her, I know about a couple of men trying to even though even though I was kidding my mind, I'd be like, you out of your mind? What? Because I love my dad.
Right.
Mm.
Right.
When I talk to my mama, like, okay, why don't you want to marry again? I see if I care. Actually, I don't want my mama to marry again.
Right. Right. Right.
No,
Right.
my dad has to be the champion. Come on.
Right.
She said, the kind of memory I have with your dad,
Mhm.
I don't think I can have that same chance with another man no more. You know, all those things stayed in my head. And that made me want to be a man like my dad.
Yes.
Absolutely.
You get my
Absolutely.
point?
Mhm.
For a woman to think the memory I have with a man, I don't want no other man to mess it up.
Mhm.
Right.
Definitely, my dad did a great job.
Mhm.
You getting my point?
Yeah.
So in Africa, for a husband to cook, it's not really common.
Right.
No.
Well, welcome to the United States,
Yeah,
Boo.
But he cooks a lot.
Right.
I enjoy cooking, especially when I see people that are waiting for me, like, where's the food? I
Right.
don't feel any type of way.
Right.
I lived in different countries before. I've met a lot of people.
Mhm.
So I have this dynamic in how I deal with people. You getting my
Right.
point? So I know here, it's not that you being like you're showing your ego or your pride.
Yeah.
It's just how you were raised.
Yeah.
It's just the culture of the United States. You getting my point? In Africa, in the morning, the father can be wherever he is, reading newspaper or doing whatever he feels like. The woman is gonna be in the kitchen cooking, especially the breakfast. We don't
Yeah.
take it. We really take it serious.
Right. Breakfast is serious.
So, I
So
tell
what you're
somebody
trying to say
when
is don't move. I should move to Nigeria, is what you're
no,
saying.
you can't.
You can't.
The thing is, anybody
I'm just joking.
who knows you from the United States who wants to marry should think about what he's getting himself
Oh
into.
yeah.
Yeah.
You're getting my point.
Yeah.
Just like me, the moment I made up my mind, like, okay, I want to marry. I have to slow down some Black African, like Nigerian, Yoruba mentality. That I know it's probably gonna create problem that would never finish for
Right.
the rest of this world. You getting my point?
Right.
I have to slow them down in my head. And okay, let me see your culture.
Right.
We gotta negotiate.
Yeah.
What are the things you need to slow down? The
Mm.
Black American thing that you offer me.
Yes.
I've seen a lot of things in social media. I've seen a lot of things. I've seen a lot of women. I'm working. I meet a lot of ladies. You getting my point? When I see some people displaying some kind of really, you getting my point? So, and we agreed. We put ourselves together. We put our minds together and be on the same page. Check ourselves.
Mm.
You think we can do this?
Yeah.
Well, let me say this,
I love it.
and then we're gonna wrap up. Before you two got married, Kanisha and some friends, we had a lot of conversation.
Mm.
And I know she probably got a lot of feedback on what? When she said she was getting married. We had never met you. I'm going to say, congratulations, Kanisha.
You see why I love her, girl?
Yes,
Yes.
absolutely.
Yes.
Because we were just like, wait a minute, what happened? Where you picking? Where you buying them at? Like, what are you talking about? Like, we were confused. I just want to publicly say, not because we didn't trust her, but because of what she was going through the divorce. We were just kind of like, what, wait.
I expect what you are saying because if you really care about Kanisha,
Yes.
you will say the same thing you're saying.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna tell you this. She needs a man.
I do. I'm not gonna sit here and
And
say I don't.
but she was clear on that. And she wanted one. Like, she was not diverting for that. She wasn't doing this. She was like, no.
I didn't want to be that one of those women like, oh, I can do this all by myself. I can
She
raise
did
my
not.
kids. I can pay my bills. I can do this. That's
There are
exhausting.
some
Yes.
things in the family. A father needs to be there.
Yes.
You can ask me what. You see, if a child grows up, or if you raise a child in a single family, or how should I put
Yeah,
it?
that's
Yeah,
right.
that's
That's
right.
right.
If the child is not grown to understand some things and the reason why the home broke in the first place before he or she grows up, that'll be a problem in the person getting married and staying married for the rest of his or her life.
Right.
That is one. Secondly, you say the youngest kid. Sometimes I just stay strong. I don't want to cry in the presence. We have this kind of connection, me and him, me and her. That even the mom sometimes she becomes, hey, that's my husband. Because kids, they're so innocent. One funny thing in the house, I'm the one that stopped them from doing some things, even though they want to do it. If it's not the right thing for them to do, it doesn't matter if you want to do it.
Right.
Sometimes they, in their mind or in their face, I see like, where's this black man? Then in my mind, I'm like, you gotta deal with it.
Right.
You getting my point? Yet they show me love.
Yes.
Yeah.
I told her, you're gonna see the result of what I'm doing. Because at some point they're gonna realize, oh yeah, we missed this role, we missed this father figure. It's gonna be like, get out. You getting my
Right.
point? And they get out.
And women, you have to be open to that too, because a lot of times we put our children first, right? But truth be told, you as a woman have to put yourself first, because if you're not first, your kids are going to suffer. Because your kids are going to grow up, they're going to live their own life, they're going to travel, do whatever it is, and you're going to be trying to figure out who you are,
Right.
right? So I knew I wanted to be remarried.
Yeah.
I knew I needed a husband. I knew my children needed to see me in a happy relationship. Like when he was talking about how his mom did not want to ruin the image of his father in her.
Yeah. That's when all of us were grown already.
Yes, but when me and him we first started talking as just friends, and he said that to me, and I said I knew I was dating someone else, and I was praying, and I was like, Lord, I don't know what it is about this person, but I need you to give me some type of sign. And then I got a phone call from him. I was on dating app. I digress. Anyway, I knew within 5 minutes of the conversation he was the answer to my prayer, not my husband, but the answer to that prayer that I just got off my knees and prayed because I wasn't sure about the previous person. We started talking, and he was telling me about his mom. And I thought to myself, if his mom felt so in love with his father to the point to where she never wanted to have another man touch her, if I left my life with that man who decided that I was no longer important enough to be here for me and to be here for our children, what image am I leaving for myself and what image am I leaving for my children? Because all they're going to remember is that they didn't have a father. Regardless of what happened between me and him, they're going to remember that my mama did it all. My mama sacrificed. My mama suffered.
Right.
But they didn't never see mama being loved. They didn't see mama when she was sick. Somebody came and took care of her. They didn't see when they were sick, when they needed some help, when mama needed somebody to pick them up from school. They didn't get to see that area in all the areas that the father shows up. Because fathers love in the way that God loves us. Whereas mothers, we love, we have that agape love, or we just, it don't matter. You can mess up, we're gonna love you anyway. But a father's gonna be like, okay, why you keep running into that wall?
Right. And we need the balance.
We need the
do.
balance.
Our
do.
kids,
And my children needed that.
right, in our households, and all kids do.
Yes.
Yes.
But you know what? This was a great conversation. We could keep going for hours.
Yeah.
I want to thank y'all so much for being here. Thank you for sharing your culture and your experience. I know people are going to start saying, he have any brothers? Put your brother on point.
He do.
So that's going to be another thing. But Steph, please tell everybody where to pick up your book again, please.
Again, you can get my book off Amazon. Look under Stephanie Rochelle, A Cracked Egg, or you can get it from myself. I have a few copies also. If you want it signed, you can hit me on IG, Stephanie Rochelle Consulting, and just say, I want your book. I saw you on the relationship party.
Yes.
And I will get it to you. We'll exchange emails and I will get it to you. I did want to say, I want to come back. We have got to come back and talk about divorce and dating.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
It's in my book, guys. It's in my
Okay,
book because I had to go through that whole thing before I got married again. So divorce and dating is the next
And
thing.
believe me, people need it right now
Yes.
because they keep saying it's different now. There's nothing new under the sun. Y'all just
nothing
using the
new
app.
under the
But
sun.
okay. Y'all just meeting on the app. That's the only thing that's different. All right, y'all. Hey, we're done. If you know of a friend who's going through a divorce, been through one, make sure that y'all tag them and make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. See y'all later.